Yo, this is Terrance Gaines, aka Brother Tech,
And this is Nica Montford, aka Tech Savvy Diva.
and welcome back to the Snob OS Show, the show for Apple snobs, where we talk all things Apple and then some. Welcome back to another episode. This is episode 243 of the Snob OS Show. As per usual, I want to send a special thank you to all those who have been rocking with us for this long, and even more special thanks goes out to those who are supporting us financially. If you want to become a snobist, which is what we lovingly call our Patreon supporters, visit patreon.com/snobOScast. And for a thank you, we offer exclusive content you will not hear on this show. And you get to hear the show a little bit earlier because we stream our show live to our Patreon supporters, so they get a little bit earlier. So we definitely want to say thank you to those. But as per usual, we want to say thank you for everybody for rocking with us for so long, because 243 shows is a lot of shows. So
Yes.
we're gonna be here as long as we want to do it, and as long as people are showing their love. So we're going to get right into the show. We're going to start with the lowdown, where we talk all things Apple. We're still waiting on iOS 17.2. No word when that's coming out, but in the meantime, last week Apple released iOS 17.1.2 that it fixes or patches some emergency security flaws. So as per usual, it seems like every update is a you must go update this. Nothing has changed with this one either. This particular one exploit, it patches an exploit that allows attackers to gain access to sensitive information due to an out of bounds read bug. I'm not sure what that is, but I'm assuming it's important. The second one is the other flaw concerned a memory corruption issue that could give hackers opportunities to execute arbitrary code. So it seems like the same things that they've patched in the past as it relates to being able to execute arbitrary code. This is something new about this out of bounds read bug. So I'll let you kind of expand on what that means if you're familiar. I'm not saying you are, but I know I'm not. So I'll turn it over to you and let you break down what is this out of bounds read bug that Apple feels like we got to update.
So I'm interested. I've definitely had out of index bugs before. Errors before in some of my code. I'm interested to see. I haven't had an out of bounds read bug before, so I don't know if the data that it's indexed, if it's reading more than it should. So basically giving more than it should, allowing you to read something or see something that is outside of the purview of what you should be able to. That's what I'm guessing. I'm not 100% sure because the context of this is kind of weird. But yeah, yeah, it says giving sensitive information. So yeah, it sounds like within the context of what you're supposed to be able to see, you're not supposed to be able to see it, but this flaw in the code allows you to see it and they don't want you to. So that's pretty much what I gathered just from seeing, just reading the notes of what that is. The other thing is this memory corruption. We all know that when you store bytes that you're going to eventually use in the memory, um, if you can see things that are stored or have access to things that are stored that you shouldn't, then that's going to give people an entry to be able to get into that buffer and maybe exploit that. Guessing, not 100% sure, but that's kind of what it seems like to me on the surface. And as far as 17.2, the release candidate was released earlier this week. So I think 17.2 is very imminent.
All right. All right. Well, until then, we urge all of you out there to, if you have compatible devices, to definitely update to iOS, iPadOS 17.1.2. All right, moving on to the next story. Apple settles a gift card lawsuit, a class action lawsuit. Apple has agreed to a $1.8 million settlement in a class action lawsuit claiming the tech giant misrepresented the security of its App Store and iTunes gift cards, leading to unauthorized redemptions. The settlement targets consumers nationwide who purchased Apple gift cards and were subsequently scammed before they could use them, leaving Apple to address claims of negligence and to ensure restitution for impacted customers. So that doesn't mean if you just purchased an Apple gift card, because I thought that's what it was, because I bought and received Apple gift cards from people, and I just assumed that, oh, let me make sure I fill out this form so I can get a little bit of money. No, it's for people who got the gift cards and were scammed before they could even use them, meaning that when somebody gave them the card, it had $100 on it. And then by the time they went to the Apple store or went to the iTunes store, there was no money on it. So I'm assuming maybe somebody hacked Apple just to get the gift card part, and any numbers or PIN codes or anything associated with those cards was stolen and spent before the recipient actually got a chance to use those cards. So, yeah. So if you did get a gift card and wasn't able to spend it and either didn't follow up with Apple, this class action lawsuit, you may be able to get some money back by, I'm assuming, going through a form, or I didn't see anywhere in this story. I'm reading in Newsweek. We'll put a link in the show notes to the actual settlement. So if you are affected, you can then go and find out how you can apply to get reimbursement. But again, you have to have gotten a card and gotten the stuff stolen, not necessarily just used a gift card within the deadlines.
Yeah, and looking at this article, there is a link to use, and you would need the sales receipt with the purchase date, the original price, and the gift card number to even. You need all three of those things to submit that. And the interesting thing is, you have to have it submitted by January 8th of 2024. So you got about a month to pull all that together and get it submitted. So they're not giving you a very large window to claim this. But if you think you were a victim of this, chop chop, because time is definitely ticking.
And I'm pretty sure that people who were affected by this didn't let it go and probably held on to that, and probably have been in the process of talking to Apple prior to this class action lawsuit settlement coming out. So I think this is Apple's way of saying, look, we got tired of these calls. We're tired of y'all emailing. We're tired of y'all bothering us. Here, we're just going to throw y'all some money. $1.8 million is a lot to me, but it's pocket change to Apple. So go through this process because we're tired of y'all bothering us.
Right. Here, take it. Fine.
All right. All right. So the next story I got is Zoom is now available on Apple TV. A lot of you will say, well, Zoom is, we're done with that now. We're off that. Zoom was a pandemic thing. Now the quote unquote pandemic is air quotes over. We ain't messing with Zoom no more. And literally Apple had no formal way to put Zoom in the Apple TV App Store because there's no such thing as an Apple camera that connects to an Apple TV until iOS 17 came out and that continuity camera. Yeah, so now we can use our phones to connect to our laptops to use the phone's camera. Apple was like, well, why don't we do that for the Apple TV? So now Apple TV has a formal camera. So now they're saying, all right, well, let's just go ahead and put Zoom in the App Store now, because there are some people who still use Zoom, and maybe they like to prop their phone up in the living room, sit on the couch, and use Zoom on the Apple TV to, I don't know, do holiday stuff with the family or whatever the case may be, versus traditionally just using FaceTime. I would just use FaceTime, but if you want to, in a bigger setting, or I don't know, a holiday party or a virtual holiday party, you could prop up an iPhone, use the continuity camera to connect to the Apple TV, and now use Zoom in your living room on your living room television.
Interesting. Okay. That's something.
Yep. All right. So the last thing I got in the lowdown is not really a story per se, but Apple has this personal voice feature to where if you get into an accident or you lose the ability to speak or you lose your voice, prior to that, you can go through this process and quote unquote save your voice in your phone or in iCloud, which is end-to-end encrypted, all the safety precautions, to where if you do, heaven forbid, lose your voice, you can use your phone to actually type out a conversation and the phone will actually play your voice. Now, it's not perfect. It's not crisp and clear. But the reason why I wanted to talk about it was because recently Apple put out a video that I just happened to watch on YouTube, and it's about the lost voice. And I'm not going to do the whole video. Basically, what happens is there's this little girl having this conversation with this big fluffy thing. And it seems like the whole point of the little video is you think the girl has lost her voice, and this big fluffy thing is helping her find her voice, right? So you watch the video and they're going to different things. They're saying different things. Let's look here. Let's look here. Maybe you lost it here, right? And then in the end, where they got me, is in the end, come to find out, she's laying in the bed and her father, who has lost his voice, is reading her a bedtime story by typing out the words on his phone, and his voice
It's
is
coming
reading
out of
her.
his voice.
Right.
Aw.
So that told me up. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and do this. So right after I watched that video, I followed the instructions. It took about 20 minutes, and what the personal voice does is similar to setting up Siri. If you set up Siri for the first time, she'll say, read how's the weather, and she'll say, read, what time is it, or whatever the case may be. Similar to that, the personal voice goes to 150 phrases. And in your normal voice, your normal speaking voice, it says it goes to the next one, and it does a little recording, and it lets you record it. Once it detects that you're done speaking, it gives a second, and it automatically goes to the next phrase. Then you say the voice in your natural voice. If you get stuck or you mess up, because of course I was panicking because I want to get this right. So you can go back, you can do it again. It doesn't say, Apple does a good job of walking you through automatically, but manually, if you want to go back and forward, you can do that as well. So it took about 20 minutes. Once I was done, it's the iPhone to say, this will process once you lock the phone and put it on the charge. Once I did that, forgot about it. I think this morning woke up and remembered, oh yeah, I did do that thing. So then you have to go into the settings and turn on the voice assistant in the accessibility settings. Once you do that, you can triple click the home button and it'll pull up a text box, and you type in the text and it'll actually use your voice. And as a trick, I tried it on my youngest daughter and my wife as they were coming home. I really didn't say anything. I'm just on my phone and I texted, how was your day at school? And my daughter really didn't pick up on it, but she did she was like, what is that voice? Where is that coming from? So she knew it was me, but like I was talking through some sort of modulator or something. So she kind of picked up that it wasn't me, but it was. I had maybe not a 2-minute conversation, but with my wife, I asked her, how was your day? Something like that. And she just like naturally responded. She didn't even look, she didn't look up at me because she was doing something. So I typed on the thing and then I did it again and did it again. And then she's like, is that you? What is that coming from? So I had to explain, what I did. So all that to say, all around the world to say, even though this personal voice thing is not morbid in the sense that, morbidity in the sense that, you really don't want to do this because it's almost like, am I, foreshadowing, right?
Am I tempting fate?
Right. But at the same time, it's like, I would
That's
hate,
something to have.
right. I would hate for something to happen to me and not be able to communicate with my family, with my friends, knowing that all it had to take was 30 minutes ahead of time to just set this thing up one time, store it, and then never have to use it again. But if something were to happen, I would still have the ability to communicate with my family and friends. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and do it because that was enough for me. So
So,
go ahead.
question. Is it only like one profile? Like because it's your phone, you can only do it for your voice. Can you do like multiple profiles, or is it just like
You can do
your face ID? It's only one face you can put on there.
it's both. You can do multiple profiles, but you can't do it of other people. I don't. I guess you could.
Okay.
I guess you could record somebody saying the phrases,
Hmm.
but you can go in and make multiple profiles to where
Hmm.
if you talking normal, maybe you want to do in different stages, like
Hmm.
normal, and then maybe like in the middle of I feel like I'm starting to lose my voice or whatever the case may be, so it can create a better profile.
Hmm.
But once you do it, it's end-to-end encrypted and it's on your device. You can use
Okay.
iCloud to sync it across multiple devices, but I think most people would just do it on their phone because, if heaven forbid I do lose my voice, I'm not going to be walking around with my iPad or my laptop,
Yeah.
trying to then pull it out so I can have a conversation. I'm going to use
Well,
my phone because it's in my pocket.
yeah, I was only thinking of like from the perspective like my grandma, she doesn't have an iPhone, but
Hmm.
I was like, what if I wanted to do a profile of her voice? Could I
Hmm.
do that? Could I
You
have
could,
her,
but keep
but
in
I couldn't
mind,
have mine on there as well.
right. Well, I guess you could, but I don't know. I haven't done that much digging into it. But keep in mind, the whole point of it is for me to communicate as me, right?
Hmm.
So if something were to happen to my voice,
Yeah.
I would want to communicate as myself.
Yeah.
And the best way to do that is to record your voice. So when you're
Yeah.
talking to family and friends and they want to interact, they get the feeling that they're talking to me, not a random robot voice.
Yeah.
So I think that's why people would just record themselves
Yeah.
versus recording other family members, unless you want to do it for them and
Yeah.
then it be on their phone. So,
Yeah.
you can walk them through it. And then when they want to communicate, they can then talk. But, you want to communicate as yourself, not necessarily
Yeah.
anybody else, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Second question, does it capture laughs? Like if you like did LOL, would it do like your laugh?
Oh, that's a good question. You know what? I don't know. Maybe. So I'll see if I can. I don't know if you can hear this. All right, let me see. If I type LOL, comma,
LOL.
it just says LOL. I don't know. Let me do it again. Yeah, it just does the letters. It doesn't do ha 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 or anything like that. It just
So,
says,
LOL.
yeah.
hey, if anybody from Apple is listening to this, I doubt it, but if on the random chance you are, if you're trying to get the sense of a voice, I would say be able to allow someone to laugh because I know people who have lost people or what even if a person has lost their voice, if they want to people like I miss your laugh or people have distinct laughs, allow it to be their laugh.
Yeah, no, I tried to type ha 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 and it
Uh
said
huh.
ha 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 ha. There wasn't a laugh. So yeah, I'm
Yeah.
assuming this is the first run. I'm
Iteration.
assuming they're going to expand on it based on how
Yeah.
people use it. Similar to the crash detection, people were
Yeah.
using it for all kind of funny ways, and Apple was like, "Wait a minute, we ain't doing it for that." So I'm pretty sure
Let
people
me
will
put in
find,
my little suggestions because I think it would be very neat. I think it would be very cool if you did do an LOL.
and then I
It would
laughed.
be,
Yeah,
yeah, and it was your laugh.
right,
I
right,
think
right.
that would be cool.
Yeah, but the whole point is to do it now so you don't have to worry about it later.
Yeah.
One of these stories in the Tech John, we talked about the DOC. I
Hmm.
don't know if you remember, but he was a super popular rapper,
Hmm.
got into a terrible accident, crushed his larynx, and it sounds like it's painful for him to talk when he talks, right?
Hmm.
What brought it to the forefront is now with AI, some producer, I can't think of who, I can't remember who, but some producer was like, "Hey, what if we could do a song or an album using AI for you to record your voice and then it modulate and turn into how you used to sound," right? So that story made me think about, all right, well, dang, Apple's already doing this to
Yeah.
where all I got to do is take 20, 30 minutes of my time and it'll save my voice forever. So if something were like that were to happen, I could still get on my phone and have a conversation and you are talking to me as
Yeah.
opposed to a robot. So,
Cool.
yep. So, and like I said, as like Nica said, tempting fate, but at the same time, I would much rather do it and then not have to worry about it no more.
Is
And
having a
then,
will tempting fate?
yeah,
Is having life insurance tempting fate?
exactly, exactly.
I don't think so.
So I'm probably going to urge my family to go and do it. So if
I'm
heaven
definitely going
forbid
to set
something,
that up. I
yeah,
didn't know that we had that function, but
yeah,
yeah,
this is like voice insurance.
yeah.
All right, so that's all I got for the lowdown. We're going to move into second string where we talk tech in general. Everybody loves 23andMe, but they have a terrible track record when it comes to their data breaches and hacks. I mean, ever since this company has been out, they have had to cover their tracks as far as data and data leaks and data hacks. This recent one is surprising because when you add up all the numbers, it equates to roughly half of 23andMe's personal data was leaked in a recent hack. And the reason why it adds up to half is because initially, when the breach was reported, 23andMe said the data breach was caused by customers reusing passwords, which allowed hackers to brute force the victims' accounts by using publicly known passwords released in other companies' data breaches. So 23andMe originally said about 1% of the customers, or about 14,000 individuals, got their data hacked because they were using terrible passwords. That was their first. Then they came back and said,
Well, actually,
right. Well, what had happened was spokesperson Katie Watson for 23andMe later confirmed that hackers accessed the personal information of about 5.5 million people who opted into 23andMe's DNA relatives feature, which allows customers to automatically share some of their data with others. The stolen data included the person's name, birth year, relationship labels, the percentage of DNA shared with relatives, ancestry reports, and self-reported locations. Then after that, 23andMe also confirmed that another group of 1.4 million people who opted into DNA's relatives also had their family tree and profile information accessed,
yikes.
which includes display names, relationship labels, birth years, self-reported location, and whether the user decided to share their information, the spokesman said. So all of that because of, in addition to users using terrible passwords, which is to be accepted, these additional features inside of 23andMe, this relatives feature and this family tree profile feature, enabled hackers to get one password off of one person's information and was able to use that to connect to a whole lot of people's information, whether they was using 23andMe or not. So imagine,
That's the bad part.
right? Imagine me and you are related. You do 23andMe, your
I
information gets
don't.
hacked. Well, I'm just saying,
Yeah. No, I'm
theoretically
saying
speaking.
that's I'm saying, and I don't do it. Is that what it is?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. That's what I was saying. I was doing it in reverse. You use 23andMe. You check all the boxes with all these features. I did not use 23andMe, and because we're related, and because you have these features turned on, they are able to access my information. So it was just crazy that 23andMe, a company that works with DNA and ancestry outside of banking and financial information, I can't think of any other information that you don't want leaked over your
Then your
DNA,
DNA.
right, and your ancestry family tree. But 23andMe, they like I said, they've had all these hacks back to back to back, and this is not the only one they've had. They've got
Yeah, the
stories.
last one, it was one that was fairly recent where it was actual DNA matter that was accessed. And
Yep.
see, people were laughing at me when I was like, I want to get out. I don't want my DNA. They already got my fingerprints. They already got my face scan. All these things. Sure. That's kind of to be expected because cameras are everywhere. But
Right.
my actual physical matter, that's the one piece that I'm still grasping, and you have to pry it from my cold, dead hands to get it.
Right.
And even that was, the idea of knowing the ancestry, what country I was stolen from, my ancestors were stolen from. I would love to know that information, but not more then I want to protect
Your
my
own data.
actual physical
Yeah.
DNA matter.
Right.
I'm not that nosy. I don't want to know that much.
And this is giving a bad look to other companies because speaking of that, speaking of, finding out where your family was stolen from, I know somebody who co-founds a similar service. It's called African Ancestry. And they do it specifically using because most of these, and I'm not a research DNA scientist, so take what I'm about to say with a grain of salt. Most of these places like 23andMe use your paternal DNA to trace your origins back to the beginning, air quotes. Companies like African Ancestry use your mother's side information to trace back because graphic.
Both?
I'm glad you asked. Because when we black folks came to America, our families were broken up. And if you were to use my paternal DNA, it wouldn't get too far before white people started showing up in my DNA because my family was stolen, fill in the details about the rest. And as a result, you would trace my DNA using my paternal family back to Europe, back to Germany, back to somewhere, versus if you use my maternal DNA, that would get me back to, like you mentioned, closer to where my family is from. And that would take, as a black person, as an African American, you could probably trace that back through the Caribbean. You could probably trace that back through South America, all the way back to Africa, which is where people like me want to find my ancestry. I want to find out what tribe, what group in Africa.
Part of Africa.
Right.
Yeah. All that.
So all the way around the world to say, I am now leery of doing anything because 23andMe is messing it up for everybody. Because, if
I ain't trusting it. I didn't trust it before. I'm even more not trusting it now.
So all that to say, 23andMe, with all of these issues, is giving a bad name to ancestry type companies. There's Ancestry, the ones on the commercials. Like I mentioned, the one about African Ancestry. There's 23andMe. 23andMe is the well-known one out of all of them. But they messing up. They messing it up for Ancestry, African Ancestry, and all these other ones people who actually want to do it. It's like, nah, I ain't risking it, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Nope. You can keep it. You can have it. So, I just won't know where my people from.
Yeah, they need to definitely do a better job.
Yeah,
for
sure.
All right, so that is it for Second String. We're going to move into For the Culture. I found this odd, and I wanted to get your take on this. There's a high-end fashion line I've never heard of.
I've heard of Piper Moss.
Is it Piper Moss? Is Piper Moss?
Piper.
Is it? Okay, so I shows you how much I know. I spelled them wrong. So they're this high-end fashion company, and I'm pretty sure they've got stores somewhere, but they have had the bright idea to come up with and this is their title, The Loot Out. And they have a video on Instagram that explains what the loot out is. And you can look at it later. We'll put the link in the show notes. But basically what they're doing is they are giving fans of this high-end fashion company, Piper Moss, the ability to pay for 1 to 5 minutes of the opportunity to run through their store and loot it. Anything that you can wear on your person is what you get to keep out of the store. And the video that they use images of previous scenarios, previous news videos of high-end stores getting looted. For whatever reason, in the past 6 months or so, there have been a lot of stores to where people are doing smash and grabs, from Walmart all the way up to, Bloomingdale's, high-end stores, to where people are just bold enough to just barge into the store, yank stuff off the rack, and leave without employees or police getting in their way, right? So this Piper Moss had the bright idea. It's like, oh, is that what y'all doing? So we're going to actually have an event to where you can pay, similar to like a what do you call those rooms? Escape rooms.
Mm-hmm.
Similar to an escape room or a rage room. They've also got the rage rooms. Escape rooms is where you can pay to have somebody lock you in a room and you have to come up with the clues in order to unlock the door and get out. A rage room is where you can pay to come in and tear up stuff. You can give you a sledgehammer, you can bust TVs, you can break printers, you can break tables. So that same thought process, they are using that to say, all right, y'all want to loot, so y'all looting all these stores. We're going to give you the ability to pay to run through this store and quote unquote loot it. Whatever you can wear is whatever you get to keep. But of course, you got to pay for this time limit to kind of run through this store. So I just wanted to get your take on it because, of course, the video is very biased in the type of people that they think would be interested in doing this. So I just wanted to get your take to see, one, have you heard about this, and what do you think of the marketing of a company to take something as, mischievous as looting and use that as a strategy to drum up business?
So first off, apparently it is Pyre Moss, but kind of like how Black people add an S to JC Penney's.
Oh, you add
Or yeah, because I Black people, because it is it's the creator is a Haitian man, and every other time I've heard people talk about it, Piper Moss. I never really looked at it and saw that there was no second P. Because I think, if I'm remembering correctly, this was a designer who had, I'm trying to think of the group, but like a full choir. At fashion shows, they normally have the music or DJs. They had like a full choir, like singing like R&B music as, the people walked down. It was like a whole, the performance of the music was like a whole different aspect of the show. So it's very well known. That's why I was like Piper Moss, because that's what Black people call it, Piper Moss. We add an extra P. But so I want to say that. So you were correct when you said Pyre, but Black people, we always rename things.
Okay, so let me real quick just read this. I'm on their website and it says how it works. Step one, purchase a time block for 1 minute or 5 minutes. The 1 minute costs you $100. The 5 minute costs you $300. Number two, you show up as your designated time. Number three, lock up your phone and any items you wore in with an attendant. So if you got coats, backpacks, purse, phones, whatever, you got to lock that stuff up. Step four, grab and get dressed in whatever items you like until your time is up. So whatever you can physically put on your body is what you get to keep. Step five, get your photo taken upon exit with the looks you created with your photographer. If you optionally want to bring in a photographer, they'll allow that. To celebrate the 10th year, Pyre Moss will host the second sales event in a decade, a looting. The quote unquote loot out draws inspiration from the luxury fashion industry's global decline, the burgeoning dupe culture, never heard of that, but I'm assuming that's a thing, and the recent looting sprees across America. This innovative, I guess that's what you want to call it, innovative sales event offers a unique and exhilarating shopping experience. Attendees will have the chance to grab as much as they can physically wear out the door within a time limit of either 1 or 5 minutes. The 1 minute experience is priced as $100, while the more extended 5 minute opportunity costs $300. Phones and cameras will not be allowed inside the venue. Are you doing something like this?
No.
And if not, what do you think of the look that this
So I
gives?
have to say I'm intrigued by the fact that a Black label would do this. But from what I've seen, I did a little quick search on the designer Kirby Jean Raymond. Like I said, he's Haitian American. He basically has used his shows previously to highlight culturally relevant things, i.e. BLM, Black Lives Matter, police brutality. So he appears to be an artist who incorporates cultural aspects of the Black diaspora in his fashion. So it kind of has like an activist kind of feel to it. If you were a Patreon supporter, you'd hear a little bit of our take on activism in the celebrity culture, but it seems that this is on brand for him. Um, I personally, I get, I guess, a dichotomy where he's trying to come from of saying, I have this luxury brand, all these famous people wear me, Michelle Obama, all of these famous people have worn my things or come to my shows. And I'm trying to highlight the fact that, we see, let's be honest, a lot of Black people, Black kids going into these stores, whether it be a Gucci or a Bloomingdale's or a Bergdorf, wherever they're going, and just grabbing like full racks of clothes and just sprinting out. I get what he's trying to say, like the cultural aspect of it, but at the same time, I don't know what's after this. Is there going to be some sort of, other than just doing this and using it as an experience, is there like a deeper message behind it, or is it what's the purpose of it? Because we already see the negative aspect of it, because when people do this, not pay to go and do this, when they are doing this, it's illegal. If they get caught, they go to jail, because if they're doing it at high-end stores, you could get a bag, bags are like $5,000, $2,000. These are like felony level charges of theft when you go into these stores. So my thing is, what are we really trying to get to the point of this?
Right.
With this, what is this adding? Is it adding, increased visibility? I don't think we need any increased visibility. I don't think we need to be saying, hey, this is a thing, and now it's like, oh, we're doing a Pyre Mouse, we are doing when they go in and steal in there. To me, I don't know what the end goal of this is, or what the positive spin of this is, other than getting publicity for the label and getting people to actually come in and do this. Is there a more altruistic aspect to this, or is it just, let me get some eyes on my stores and on my labels, and then when people actually come and steal after this is over, like
my guess is it's the latter, just to get some shine, get some name, get some recognition. Because if he was really trying to speak out against, like I said, he mentioned the luxury fashion industry's global decline, the burgeoning dupe culture. I'm assuming those are people fake clothes.
Like what's the big one? Like what is it? AliExpress. What's the other one? DH something, where they basically make really good duplicates of high-end things that people go and buy online for like next to nothing. Yeah.
All right. The burgeoning dupe culture and the recent looting sprees across America. I'm assuming he's speaking out against those three things, but all you're doing to me is you're perpetuating the stereotype that the only group of people who are doing this looting, smashing, and grabbing is folks that look like us. We did not create smash and grab. We did not, that is not something that we patented at all. But it just seems like we, African Americans, are the ones that are being attributed heavily to the idea of this looting that has gone on recently. Because I've definitely seen it more and more and more. People, deciding, well, I'm just going to take this stuff and you ain't going to stop me, because one, you ain't security. Two, by the time I get out of here, police ain't showing up. So I'm just going to take the opportunity to do this. Now, if you really wanted to combat all these things that he just listed, fashion industry decline, dupe culture, looting sprees, because I don't want to speak for you, but I'm assuming we are in agreement that the reason why people are hitting these high-end stores, because otherwise they couldn't afford it, which is why they wear duplicate clothes, which is what is attributing to the decline in the fashion industry. If you really wanted to do something, make the clothes $1, make them $10, make them $5,
Make them affordable.
Make them affordable. Then you may have, like you said, what's the end goal? The end goal is more people can wear it because more people can afford it. And we still going to rock it the way we rock it, which is still going to create fashion trends, which will contribute to our input on the fashion industry. We always talk about how Black people, we affect culture. We set the trends. Well, it's hard. It's getting increasingly hard for us to set the trends when we can't afford daggone clothes to start with. So if you make them affordable, more people will wear them. Therefore, we will then be back into the full swing of saving the culture. But this ain't that. This is my man taking an opportunity. And you got to go watch the video. I put the link in the show notes.
Okay.
If you watch the video, it's kind of like, man, you ain't doing nothing but just getting some shine off of a recent trend that what's the word? Inadvertently paints Black folks as the bad guys when it comes to this looting as of recently. When, like I said, we didn't create looting, we didn't create smash and grab. It's just like the media, as usual, paints us as the perpetrators. And that ain't the case. But this, because you are catering to those people, I don't know.
You're catering to the concept. You're catering to an already bad situation, because eventually this all trickles back down to the consumer, where, when you go into certain stores, you go into a Walmart, you go into a Walgreens, all of the things are behind these locked cabinets. So in order to even get basic things, soap, deodorant, medicine, toothpaste, basic things, you have to go and find a person to come and unlock it in an already understaffed store. So it ultimately comes back to the consumer, who has to bear the brunt of this, all to get some publicity, to get some exposure. And I know it's not a direct correlation, but what's going on in DC with people being hemmed up and their stuff getting stolen, them getting beat up if they don't hand it over, and you're feeding into
making it more acceptable
already. You're making it seem cool or hip to go in and steal. And what's going to happen is people who aren't about that life are going to go and say, ooh, this seems fun, let's do a YouTube channel or a YouTube challenge. And you're going to get a lot of people either hurt, arrested, or worse. Because now they think, oh, this is cool, this is hip. This isn't just now people trying to steal because they want to wear something fly, or steal to go and bootleg it and sell out the back of their trunk. Now you're getting people who will
doing it for clout.
Do it for clout, do it for YouTube views, do it for Instagram views. And it's going to get a lot of people in a lot of trouble, because again, if you're doing this in high-end stores, this is thousands, tens of thousands of dollars worth of merchandise over a couple of items. If you're just swapping a whole rack of things, or I saw a recent one, I think at a Gucci store, where they just went and just grabbed a whole armful of bags. That's easy $50,000 worth of bags. Those are felony charges. And you're going to have people in jail trying to be cute for the internet, and it's not a good look.
Yeah. I attributed this to every year around Martin Luther King Day, you see Martin Luther King and his face on the party flyers. I'm not saying Martin Luther King didn't get down like that, but I'm pretty sure he didn't get down like that.
He is from the ATL, so I'm sure they had a good time.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure he didn't get down like that, right? No. So all that to say, to correlate that with this, sometimes we can be our own worst enemy.
Absolutely.
And this kind of seems like that to us. Like, you are this brother, he's Haitian. He is trying to make a name for himself, bring some extra light to whatever he's trying to do, not thinking about, all right, what are the overall effects of this? So hopefully this comes and goes and nobody like makes a big deal out of it, but it's crazy. And I thought this Pyre Moss was, some other people. To find out it's our own people.
It's us.
We sometimes are our own worst enemy. So,
Yep.
all right. So enough of that. Let's get into the hookup where I dish a tech tip. I had something up here ahead of time, but I changed it. I changed it because, like I said, going back about the personal voice thing, like watching that video, like I said, it hit me kind of hard. I'm like, you know what? Let me go ahead and set this up. So my tech tip for the week, if you are an iPhone user and you have iOS 17, I would highly advise to take you 20 minutes to about a half an hour and set up the personal voice on your iPhone. Like I said, you to start, you'll have to go through the accessibility settings. And like I said, they'll start you through like a list of about 150 phrases. And then once you say them all correctly, not necessarily correctly, but using your own voice, you can then enable the personal voice. So then when you triple tap on the power button, it'll bring up a text box and you can type in any text you want.
Oh, I see it.
And the iPhone will do its best to use your voice and create this conversation. So you can have the conversations and it'll be coming from your voice as opposed to using some other method to communicate that isn't reflective of you. So that is my tip for the week. Take some time and set up the personal voice.
Yeah, and I looked at the personal voice and accessibility settings, and you can share it across all devices if you want. Yep. And then apparently there are certain apps that use this, and you could turn on the feature to allow the apps to request the use. So that's pretty cool.
Yep. So that is my hookup for the week. And if Nica, if you don't have anything, that is going to do it for this week's show. We definitely want to thank everybody for joining us. Nica, tell the folks where they can find you.
You can find me at Tech Savvy Diva on all of your social media platforms.
And you can find me all over the internet at Brother Tech. That's BROTHATECH. If you want to connect and communicate with the show, please go to the website. That's snoboscast.com. You can listen to the show, read the show notes. You can subscribe to any of the podcast players, and you can show us some love financially. So definitely go to snoboscast.com to get all those details. But until next week, we are out. Peace.
Bye, everybody.